The Disney Channel was built on a particular promise that the children performing on its stages were protected, celebrated, and cared for.
No, you go on. I'm gonna stay and practice my trumpet a little more.
The audience believed it. The parents of those children often needed to believe it. Behind the bright sets and the laugh tracks, however, a different story was accumulating across 2 decades, told quietly at first and then, as those children grew into adults with voices, told plainly and publicly. It is a story about what the industry demanded, what it failed to provide, and what some of those young people carried alone for years. Today we look honestly at the dark side of Disney, child stars who were destroyed by fame. She was 6 years old when she appeared on Barney and Friends for the first time, and she was still working before she had finished elementary school. By the time Camp Rock premiered in 2008, Demi Lovato was already known to millions, a teenager with a powerful voice, a bright smile, and the kind of Disney brand loyalty that came with contracts, promotional schedules, and a very specific public persona to maintain. What the audience could not see was what the camera was not pointed at. By her own account, she was already drinking on weekends during the Camp Rock era. She was struggling with an eating disorder severe enough that a co-worker on set later said she had witnessed Lovato's bulimia firsthand. In her 2021 documentary, Dancing with the Devil, Lovato disclosed that she had experienced a serious assault at the age of 15, perpetrated by someone she had to continue working with afterward. She reported it at the time. Nothing happened to the person responsible. She internalized the trauma and found other ways to cope: the cutting, the restricting, the escalating substance use that nobody on set seemed able or willing to address. On one tour, she played 70 shows in 90 days and did not know she could ask for a stop. In July 2018, Lovato was found at her home unresponsive. She had suffered 3 strokes, a heart attack, and organ failure. She also disclosed that she was assaulted again that night. She survived. In 2024, she directed Child Star, a documentary in which she interviewed other former child performers about the systemic failures that shaped their experiences, and used the platform to push for updated protections for working minors in California. She was still in her 30s, doing the industry's unfinished work. She was 11 years old when she played both halves of The Parent Trap, twin sisters separated at birth, scheming to reunite their divorced parents. And even at that age, the precision and charm she brought to both characters was something critics noticed. Disney saw it clearly and gave her Freaky Friday, then Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, then Herbie, Fully Loaded. By 2004, she was not just a Disney actress. She had starred in Mean Girls, become a genuine cultural force, and been declared by no less than Tina Fey to be someone you could learn acting from simply by watching. She was 17. What followed is one of the most documented descents in Hollywood history. By 2005, she was surviving on 3 hours of sleep a night and beginning to spend more time in nightclubs than her schedule could accommodate. By 2006, the producer of Georgia Rule had sent a furious letter to her management about absences and late arrivals. By 2007, she had entered rehab for the first time, been arrested twice, crashed 2 cars, and been photographed in states of visible exhaustion that the tabloids printed under headlines that treated her struggles as entertainment. Over the 5 years that followed, she made 20 court appearances, spent time in 6 different rehabilitation facilities, and was incarcerated on multiple occasions, though rarely for more than days at a time, due to overcrowding. The industry that had made her famous found her uninsurable and turned its back. The media that had celebrated her talent pivoted to celebrating her collapse. It took nearly a decade of relative quiet, most of it spent abroad, before she found her footing. She returned in Freakier Friday in 2025 opposite Jamie Lee Curtis, the same actress who had sat across from her in Freaky Friday when she was 16. It was a long road back. She was modeling at 6 weeks old, not a figure of speech, not a rounding error. Bella Thorne's mother put her in front of a camera before she could walk, and by the time she was cast on Shake It Up alongside Zendaya in 2010, she had already spent more than a decade in the entertainment industry. The show made her well-known. The network made clear what being well-known required: a specific image, a specific persona, and a level of personal scrutiny that most adults would find difficult to bear, applied to a 12-year-old. When she was 14, a fan photographed her at a beach wearing a bikini. Disney nearly fired her. She was told to wear board shorts and a loose shirt whenever she went to the beach in future. She recalled the experience on a podcast years later, describing the moment when she understood what the network expected: total image control, extended into her private life, applied to her body. She described feeling like a puppet during her Disney years, not permitted to make decisions or think for herself in any meaningful way. She also disclosed that between the ages of 6 and 14, she experienced ongoing sexual abuse from someone in her personal life, a reality invisible to the child audience that watched her every week. Her post-Disney career has been turbulent and has attracted sustained criticism, some of it legitimate, and some of it the particular cruelty that the internet reserves for young women who step outside the lines drawn for them in childhood. She has been open about the fact that the version of Bella Thorne the world thought it knew from Disney was not, in any meaningful sense, Bella Thorne. She is the person in this story who named the mechanism: Allison Stoner, a dancer and actress who appeared in Camp Rock alongside Demi Lovato, in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, in Cheaper by the Dozen, and in music videos for Missy Elliott and Eminem before she had turned 10. Published an op-ed in People magazine in 2021 that gave the problem a name: The Toddler to Trainwreck Industrial Complex. The phrase has stuck. In it, she described her first audition at the age of 6 for a role that required her to perform a scene in which a child is raped and kidnapped. Immediately afterward, she was taken to audition for a princess toy advertisement. The industry considered this a normal working day. She wrote about being medically undernourished, chronically stressed, and the subject of multi-layered abuse that she was not equipped, at the age at which it occurred, to recognize or report. She described her family being financially destroyed by the experience of supporting a child performer, and she was clear that she considered herself one of the lucky ones, meaning she had survived to write about it. The op-ed was not a plea for sympathy. It was a policy document. She called for mandatory media literacy training for guardians, accountability standards for agencies and production companies, and mental health practitioners placed permanently on sets where children work. Most of those things do not yet exist. Stoner has continued to advocate for them, appearing in the Child Star documentary and speaking publicly about what reform would look like. She is asking the industry to become something it has never been. For the generation that grew up watching Hannah Montana, Mitchell Musso was Oliver Oken, Miley Stewart's loyal, reliably goofy best friend, whose comedic timing anchored some of the show's best scenes across 4 seasons. He was also the voice of Jeremy Johnson on Phineas and Ferb, a role that ran for nearly a decade. By the time both shows ended, Musso had spent most of his teenage years and early 20s in front of cameras, recognized everywhere, contractually obligated to be presentable at all times, and given essentially no preparation for what came next. What came next was the part the network had never prepared him for: being a private citizen with a famous face and no structure around him. In 2011, he was arrested for driving under the influence at the age of 20. The arrest was covered extensively, the mugshot was circulated widely, and Disney's subsequent response was to quietly reduce his public profile. In 2023, he was arrested again for public intoxication and allegedly using a counterfeit bill at a hotel. He was 31 years old. The tabloid treatment of both incidents was merciless, in a way that rarely paused to ask what might have produced them. The pattern is one that appears repeatedly in the lives of young performers who exit long-term Disney contracts. A sudden loss of structure, identity, and professional support, with no transition program and no consistent aftercare. Musso was never offered a framework for being Mitchell, rather than Oliver. The fan base that adored Oliver had no particular interest in Mitchell's difficulties. The industry moved on. He played Eddie Thomas on That's So Raven from 2003 to 2007. Raven's best friend, the one with the easy laugh and the impromptu rap, the emotional center of a show that ran for 100 episodes and broke Disney Channel viewership records. He was funny and warm and completely at ease on camera in the way that only some performers are, which is to say he made it look like no effort at all. When the show ended in 2007, Orlando Brown was 20 years old and suddenly in possession of a famous face, a discontinued income, and no clear path forward. The roles did not come. Brief voice work trickled in through 2009 and then stopped. He surfaced in a cameo in Straight Outta Compton in 2015. In between, the arrests began. Marijuana possession in 2007, DUI and failure to appear in 2011, domestic battery and methamphetamine possession in 2016, bounty hunters tracking him across state lines after he fled California. By 2018, he appeared on Dr. Phil, visibly unwell, making statements that were widely reported as alarming and that the host attributed partly to the effects of long-term methamphetamine use on neurological function. He was at one point homeless, staying with his brother when the 2022 domestic violence charge occurred. In 2020, Brown completed a 6-month faith-based residential recovery program in Texas. He married. He became a father. In 2023, he appeared on a Zeus Network reality series documenting his re-entry into public life. In 2025, he opened a restaurant in Phoenix, Arizona. The recovery has been public and, by most accounts, genuine. Nick Cannon said at the time of Brown's most visible difficulties that watching what had happened to him was a crucial example of what occurs when young artists are prematurely exposed to the entertainment industry and then left to fend for themselves. The observation was correct. The system that produced him offered him nothing when it was finished with him. Dylan and Cole Sprouse were 7 years old when they appeared in Adam Sandler's Big Daddy in 1999, which means that by the time The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody premiered on Disney Channel in 2005, they had already been working professionally for 6 years. The show ran until 2008, followed immediately by The Sweet Life on Deck through 2011. For 6 years, they were among the most recognized faces in children's television. Their school schedules built around production, their personal development shaped in significant ways by what the network required of them. When they departed Disney, Dylan gave an interview at New York University, where he had enrolled to pursue a normal college experience that was later reported to have been actively suppressed by the network. In it, he spoke candidly about the experience of growing up under that level of institutional control and about the deliberate choice to step away from an industry that had occupied his entire childhood. Disney's reported attempt to suppress the interview was, in its own way, a continuation of exactly the behavior he was describing. A corporation accustomed to controlling its talent's public image, even after the contract had ended. Cole Sprouse went on to a successful adult career, most notably playing Jughead Jones in Riverdale from 2017 to 2023. Dylan built a craft brewing business in Brooklyn. Both have spoken carefully but honestly about what the Disney years cost them in terms of a normal adolescence, the years that are not retrievable, the experiences that were structured out of existence by a production schedule. They navigated the transition more successfully than many of their contemporaries. They are also two of the rare Disney alumni who have named the cost clearly without softening it. The names in this video are not the only ones. They are among the most visible, the ones who have chosen to speak or whose difficulties became impossible to ignore. Behind them are hundreds of other children who passed through the Disney machine in smaller roles, with smaller platforms, and less ability to make the public listen when they tried to describe what had happened. Allison Stoner called it an industrial complex, and the word industrial is worth sitting with. An industry does not make mistakes, it produces outcomes. The outcomes described in this video were produced consistently, across decades, by a system that knew what it was doing to children and continued doing it because the children were profitable and the silence was manageable. The fact that some of those children survived, rebuilt, and found ways to speak about what happened to them is not a tribute to the system. It is a tribute to them. If any of these stories stayed with you, we'd like to hear which one in the comments. And if you think this conversation is worth continuing, subscribing is the way to make sure you're here for the next one.